Hello, friend. I'm Dr. Ken, your financial coach. It's just a delight to be able to share with you some financial tips and some things that I believe will bless you and help you navigate through these very difficult financial times. We're in the middle of what they call an economic pandemic, and everybody is feeling the squeeze one way or another. And perhaps some of you could have lost the job. Maybe your business folded. Or perhaps you just feel like, I don't know what I'm going to do next with my finances. Well, I got good news for you. There are answers, there are solutions, and believe it or not, it has been in times like these that some of your greatest millionaires were birthed. Could that be you? I want to talk today about mastering your finances, just getting control of that money thing. I know you felt many a times, man, if I could just get this money thing together. You got the career kind of going, you got the family life going pretty well, but those finances are like the bread between the sandwich. When that's in order, it seems like everything else seems to just fall in place. So I want to take a few moments to share with you some things about how you can master your finances. Now, I've been teaching finances for over 20 something years. I'm an accountant by trade, a master certified estate planner. So I know a little something about money and finances. However, when it comes down to having your money, especially in the kingdom of God, there is what we call warfare. It seems like opposing forces that will always bring you to a place where you just don't know what to do with your finances and money. But I want to tell you today, there is victory, there is hope, and I want to give you some of the principles I've learned over the years that took me out of debt not once, but twice. Because if we'll be honest, some people get out of debt and you just find yourself successfully falling back in debt. And I'm sure many of us got out of debt after the 2007 through 2014, what we call the Great Recession. But here it is again. We'll find ourselves slipping back in debt. Well, it's okay, because if you can get out before, you can get out again. But you need to know the principles. Now, the reason why I like to teach financial principles, because principles will work anytime, anywhere, with anyone. You just have to apply them. And so let's look at some of that. Now, I'm a biblically based teacher, so I want to give you some scriptures and just that I have kind of leaned on that have helped me over the years, and I know they will help you too. And this is in Psalms 34:6. This is one of my favorite, and I want to just read this in your hearing, and it's going to be a blessing to you. And it says this. It says, "This poor man cried out, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all of his troubles." Now notice David is crying out down to David. This is King David, but he's not a king now, okay? He's literally a fugitive running from King Saul for his life, struggling from cave to cave. And sometimes we find ourselves not quite in the place we were ordained to be. Here he is, destined to be a king, a wealthy king, but yet he finds himself poor and running from King Saul. But it's in that moment he does something that all of us have to do, and that's first look to God. He cries out and he says, "This poor man cried, and the Lord," I want you to hear that, "the Lord delivered him out of all of his troubles." Now notice there, he's poor, he's crying, and when he gets delivered, he says all of these troubles, plural, because there's something about financial struggle and trouble that brings about a whole lot of trouble in your life. I mean, come think about it. People today get sick because they say most sicknesses are psychosomatic, which means that it's because of stress and mental anguish and in their finances. And here they are now sick. They say the number one cause of stress is heart failure. Death is heart failure. Number one cause. The number one cause of heart failure is stress. Well, the number one cause of stress is debt, financial debt. So you get the financial debt out of your life, then we get the stress out of your life, then we can add years to your life. So debt has effect on your physical being, has effect on your relationships. 90% of all marriages are literally in divorce or financial struggles. It affects your life in so many ways. It messes with your self-esteem, your confidence. You become gun shy, and applying for many things. Why? Because of the finances. Let's look at it real quick. Now, David cries out and the Lord deliver him. So that's principle number one. Cry out to the Lord and he will answer. Now, how does he do that? Well, Luke, the 16th chapter gives this profound statement, and this is something that Jesus said. And this is where this whole topic of mastering your finances come from. In Luke 16, now this is what Christ said, okay? He makes these very profound statements. He says, and I say to you, make friends with yourselves with unrighteous mammon. That's money, possession, and things. And when you fail, they may receive you into everlasting home. Now, some people interpret that as Christ saying that you'll make it to heaven, but that's not what he was referring to. He was talking about having security, that when you handle money right with the right people, when you fail or when you hit a difficult time, you'll have somewhere to go. You'll know somebody. So that's why it's important, he says, to manage the money that you see. Then he goes on to say, look at this. He who is faithful in that which is least is also faithful in much. He which is unjust in least is unjust in much. Well, what he says there is that faithful is another word for trustworthy. If you can't be trusted with a little, how are you going to have a lot of money? So every time you get a bill, every time you buy a car and you have an opportunity to pay back or to make the payments, you got to be faithful in that. You got to be faithful in anything that you do financially. But it starts off with the small. Why are you asking God for $1 million and you can't even handle 10,000? So you practice here. You start here. What do I have before me? Let me be faithful to pay what I have. Now, this doesn't sound like, you probably thought I was going to give you some great financial tips from Wall Street market, but it doesn't start there. It all starts with the intangibles in our life. You see, your inner world determines your outer world. When you make up in your mind you're going to be a trustworthy person, then God says, you know what, I'm going to get in your finances because you can be trusted. So if you're not trusted with little, you're not going to be trusted with much, okay? And if you are trusted with little, you will be trusted with much. Here's another powerful principle he says here. He says, if you have not been trustworthy or faithful in another man's, who will give you your own? So here it is. He says, if you borrow something or you're renting something, whatever you're doing that belongs to someone else, and you find yourself in a position of serving them, Christ says, you need to serve that man or serve in that, whether it's your business, your job, your ministry, wherever you're serving, you do it as unto God and you do it as if it's your own. You know, every time I've had an apartment, I'm telling you, when I gave that apartment back or when that lease was up, I made sure that apartment looked better when I gave it back than when I went into it. Why? Because I understood this principle. How many times do you clean your car? Keep your car in a business place. Why would God trust you with a Rolls Royce and you can't even keep up with a hoopty? These are the things that we miss. And when we talk about mastering your finances, he says, handle what you have, and especially if it belongs to someone else. And I don't know how God does it. He's just an awesome God. Before you know it, he just starts opening doors. Before you know, you start getting phone calls from other people, and God lifts you out of the place where you are and puts more in your hands, and he blesses you with your own. That's where we start in mastering our finances. What do? We make money our friend. We take our business transactions serious, understanding that how we handle money and relationships affects our future. All right? Number two, what else do? We're trustworthy with little. I'm telling you, God has this awesome way of just taking little and making it much. You say, well, I just have about $20 in my bank account. Hey, if you do what's right with that 20, before you know it, you'll have 20,000. He takes little, but he's looking for the faithfulness. He's looking for the trustworthiness. So I don't have a money problem. I have a trust problem. But you can fix that. You can start right now and start trusting. And then lastly, he says, what is it that I have that I'm using of someone else's? Is it my employer? Am I serving at his office? Or is it an account that someone has blessed me with and now I'm handling and managing their assets? He says, if you manage someone else's with integrity, he says, guess what? I will bless you with your own. I'm telling you, God is an awesome God. I hope these points that I've shared, I'm going to come back again with mastering your finances. We're just getting started, but I hope these nuggets that I've shared with you today will jumpstart you from where you are so that you can live in a place of financial abundance. I believe, and I'll keep on saying, it's your time and your turn for financial freedom. Well, this is Dr. Ken, your financial coach, saying to you, listen to some of the offers, some of the things we're going to put in your hands so that you'll be able to better manage your finances and experience the abundant life that God has planned for you. That's what we want you to have, and that's what you're going to get. Okay, this is Dr. Ken saying to you, it's your time and turn for financial increase.